I made a video a few months ago discussing why I believe Succession Season 4 is the best season to ever grace television, and since I posted that, I've been rewatching episodes over and over again, and man, I still stand by that sentiment. Succession's biggest strength, among many things, is the characters. These are some of the most layered and complicated people I've seen in any form of media. To be able to write exceedingly distinct and clearly defined individuals while also being the most inconsistent people with often unreadable intentions, constantly doing a bunch of mental gymnastics in order to benefit their own self-interest, is just insane to me. There is so much bubbling under the surface, and it just drives me nuts thinking about how they wrote it. Today, I want to specifically discuss Roman Roy, who is arguably my favorite character in the whole show. I briefly talked about my complicated relationship with Roman in my last Succession video, and my feelings on him have not exactly changed. However, as I've rewatched scenes from earlier seasons, now with the context of the apprised emotionality of Season 4, I really do see his self-aversion shine through even more, and it does allow me to understand him on a deeper level. Even all the way back in Season 1, we see glimpses of that. During my first watch of the series, I found him to be this incredibly sardonic being that weaponizes his irony and sarcasm with the intention of propping himself up and pushing others down. But as the series progresses ever so slightly, we see his insecurities poke through his exterior. Every character in the show feels almost like a shell of a human, someone that once had passions, aspirations, and love for others, but as time went on and their childhood abuse proceeded to haunt them, the depravity gradually ate them from the inside out. What we see are people with their humanity just barely hanging by a thread. Their intentions are often ambiguous. Is it love or is it a move to get others on their side? They are so hard to fully define. I can't just go up and say Kendall is the sensitive one, Roman is the disgusting one, Connor is the impartial one, Shiv is the moral one that regularly contradicts herself, because that's just not true. It's an oversimplification. There are a bunch of inconsistencies and nuances that make their behavior unpredictable in some scenes and very blatant and foreseeable in others. That's why I love Season 4 so much. It explores those insecurities, those small slivers of humanity left, the deeply buried love that is still housed somewhere in their deeply complicated souls. Roman, to me at least, is the prime example of this. I relate to aspects of Roman more than I'd like to admit. I'm not a freaky little weirdo, but I did stand apart from my family a lot. I would say things that were not considered appropriate a lot. I would talk and talk just to get a reaction out of people, often for shock value. It's a part of me that I often like to reject and bury, but it is a part of me and I can't change my story. I just see a lot of myself in him, even if I avoid coming to terms with those aspects of myself. Roman has this crippling insecurity to him that he conceals with his very twisted sense of humor, often to get a reaction out of those around him. He's a disgusting little guy that uses his self-awareness as a guise to cover that up. While someone like Kendall is a very self-serious person that has this cosmic hole inside of him, full of aspirations to rise to the top simply because he was raised to think that way, making him an extremely apologetic character, Roman does quite the opposite. He is somebody that uses his jocular sham as a way to hide how fearful he is of being seen as the failure of the family. His apathy, mixed with his constantly ironic performance, in a way immunizes him of valuable criticism. Fact of the matter is, his family still sees right through his bullshit, especially his father. His relationship with Logan is so interesting to me. Like, all of the kids are very liable to drop everything and submit to him, but they also have this profound hatred towards their father. Yet Roman doesn't fall into that camp. Despite his inability to engage with others in a sincere way, always resorting to his same bag of edgy humor, he is probably the most docile and compliant out of all of his siblings when it comes to his father. He almost never seems to draw lines, and when it comes to Logan, he has this unique ability to switch around and defend him. That one scene where he's clearly conflicted in betraying his father when he's on the verge of selling his company. You can just see it all in his face, a scared child afraid of upsetting his daddy.
No, we can fight it out. It'll be fun.
That will be fun.
When that safety is gone, you can see him crumble and crawl into himself. He just says things like this so very often.
Yeah, there's just something about betraying our father that just doesn't sit well with me.
I also just have to bring up how brilliant the casting of Kieran Culkin is here. I mean, Alan Ruck, Sarah Snook, and especially Jeremy Strong all have a very childlike demeanor. They all fit their roles incredibly well. You can see in their faces that they were once children, even down to subtle physical mannerisms. Despite all of the horrible things the characters do throughout the show, we still manage managed to see an innocence in their eyes that has since dwindled into adulthood. But Culkin especially brings something to the table here that you just cannot look away from. It helps that his childhood pursued in a shockingly similar way to Roman's. It was almost as if Culkin was born to play this character. The man was a child star. He grew up in a home where he and his siblings were placed in the public eye at a very young age that no child should ever live in. He was kind of stuck in the shadow of his much more successful older brother Macaulay, and I don't know how much he felt about that. It seems that his relationship with his siblings is pretty healthy, but I don't know. This is all in the public eye, and this is just conjecture on my part. What I do know is that he got famous very young, yet his older brother was still getting a lot of the accolades while he watched from the sidelines.
And at the end of the show, I got to be on the stage for the good nights, and I think we have a clip. Can we show it? Okay. So there's my brother, and the cast is lifting him up on their shoulders, and there, boom, there I am.
Again, I'm assuming here, I think a lot of this did have an effect on how he played the character of Roman. Complicated dichotomy with being a part of an incredibly famous and wealthy family, although nowhere near as wealthy as the Roys. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Also just expertly pulls off the physicality of a man-child like nobody's business. He is somebody that can never sit still and refuses to stand normally, always scratching his head or waving his arms around, contorting his face in awkward shapes in vexatious situations he clearly doesn't want to be in, or is just doing whatever this is. Like, what is this? He's like a 12-year-old boy racked with ADHD stuck in a man's body. His eyes have this way of inviting us into the soul of somebody who purposely makes it difficult for you to sympathize with based on his flagrant public behavior. It's like Culkin's performance is actively trying to make you hate him, yet those glimmers of vulnerability we see in his eyes fight against that notion. It's very hard to describe if you haven't seen it. I mentioned before that Kendall is a very apologetic character, often in a way to earn some sympathy points.
Man, you fucked my wedding in so many ways.
I'm sorry.
In order to combat his insecurities, he reaches out to find some form of validation, but Roman doesn't do that, except when he does. See, there's very few moments in the show that show him making half-hearted apologies to others with a very small sliver of sincerity concealed within his irony.
And don't forget those papers I told you to bring. Thank you. Fuck off.
The optimistic side of me wants to think that he truly does love his siblings, and I believe that he does in the really weird, screwed up way that you'd expect from Roman, but you never know. I think the ambiguity of the nature of how he feels about things is honestly really brilliant. Roman Roy is somebody desperate to be taken seriously by actively making it virtually impossible to criticize him. His cynicism gets him a long way by just treating everything so facetiously, it almost absolves him of criticism. It's an unbreakable code. If he treats everything like a joke, then you can never really blame him for anything. But Logan can see right through that, and when he demolishes that charade, we see him break down into a child in real time. The show never uses flashbacks, but we never really need them for context. We see it all in the eyes and the physicality of the actors. One of my favorite moments of the show is when Roman openly mocks his father in front of him, which is actually pretty rare for him to do.
Tortured the old dinosaur. You barbecued him live, huh?
Don't fuck with me! Hey! No! Don't fucking touch him!
I remember when I first saw this, my heart leapt out of my chest. I genuinely did not know how to react, but seeing a man slap his own child, fully knowing his son is an adult, just disturbed a deep part of my soul that I can't really articulate. But as soon as he does this, we see Kendall immediately jump in and defend Roman. This is really where I see that childlike courage drip through, the older brother talking back to his dad. There's something weirdly hopeful about it, while simultaneously being petrifying. These actors portray these characters as grown children instead of just adults. You can tell that they factored the childhood of these characters into their performances. Like they had a completely separate script just for the actors to read to understand the characters on the page, and it really does benefit how we empathize with these characters. In my opinion, Kieran Culkin emulates a spoiled child the most here. Roman is a character that can't accept love. Instead, he values punishment over pleasure or intimacy. I mean, look at his entire relationship with Jerry. Like, he just enjoys punishment because he's always thought that he deserves it, because he hates himself so much.
Hitting Rome when he was a kid?
Oh, no. I mean, everyone hit me. I'm fucking annoying.
In other words, he's a masochist and you can't even take it. Now, I do want to say that I don't appreciate when people online just water down Roman's character into, oh, he's just a little puppy dog, just a scared little boy, because we can't just toss aside all of the horrible things he's done, like, you know, getting a fascist elected president of the United States and being kind of jovial about it because it clearly does not affect him.
Thank you very
Can't
much.
talk semiconductors.
And God bless
market's holding
the
a
United
leash.
States of America.
We just made a night of good TV. That's what we've done. Nothing happens.
Things do happen.
Or even just in the pilot episode where he tears up $1 million check in front of a kid because it makes him feel better about himself. Like, let's not lie to ourselves. Roman is a bad person, like a fundamentally flawed human being, and more often than not, somebody that doesn't exactly deserve to have his flaws eradicated. He is an adult that's still consciously making bad decisions. I think the show, however, does do an incredible job at helping the audience understand why he makes those decisions, where the origin is. Every choice is rooted in something. Some are more explainable than others. Succession is so masterful because it shows us fully grown characters and in a way reverse engineers their archetypes to get a glimpse into their childhood, all through the subtle and tumultuous behavior of the characters. The tempestuous nature of how Roman treats himself and the world around him is so fascinating. Somebody that clearly hates himself but is apprehensive towards engaging with those emotions in any meaningful way. He is someone that's hard to clearly define once you spend more time with him. His inability to treat anything with genuine care and acting above others causes him to crumble once he's been called out.
They're a bunch of stuck-up cunts who can't fucking bear to see me win. That's it. That's all this is.
You're not a real person. You know that? You're not a real person. You're not real.
We can see that if we compare his first scene with his last scene in the series finale, and I don't mean that final scene, but this one, yeah. While his view of how he sees everything around him it's just all bullshit. And from the surface, he hasn't really changed much. We see his attitude shift the most. That joking, I'm above this attitude is just dead and gone now.
Look at all this fucking bullshit.
Yes, very serious.
Hey, we are bullshit.
And the truthfulness behind his words are personally interpreted at face value.
Bullshit. You are bullshit. You're fucking bullshit, man. I'm fucking bullshit. She's bullshit. It's all fucking nothing. Man, I'm telling you this because I know it, okay? We're nothing.
What we see now are his true feelings, his true intentions. I see many argue that Roman doesn't really change on the show, and in a way he doesn't. That's kind of the point of the show, but his facade changes. His worldview doesn't change, but his connotation and the way he expresses himself does. And I think Brian Cox puts it best in this interview.
The person who I feel most sorry about is Roman. I feel most sorry about him because I think he's a sweet boy, but he's still a kid. And all of that. He's still got that childish mentality, that kind of teenage mentality. I mean, it was also a joy to watch Kieran develop as an actor over all those years, to see how insecure he was to start with and how brilliant he is in the show. I mean, they all are, but Kieran's journey was a really interesting one.
All in all, I think Roman Roy is by far the most sensitive of the Roy children. I weirdly see myself in him at times, and I said at times. I relate to his self-loathing. I relate to how he views himself as an outcast. I relate to him in very, very small doses, but I still relate to him. Something pretty much unexplainable, an unsaid truth, if you will. I also just relate to the siblings dynamic in general. I obviously don't talk to my own siblings like this. I grew up Mormon, so no, we don't talk to each other like this.
You know what? No one likes talking about me fucking guys as much as you do. Do you know that? Why is that? Is that because you're the COO who can't fuck?
But there is a sense of judgment in some circumstances and moments of acceptance and love in others. Like I compare the scene where Roman, Connor, and Shib confront Kendall regarding his recent suicide attempt and the misunderstanding of his behavior, more so getting mad at him for making that decision rather than coming from a place of compassion.
We just wanted to get together to let you know that we love you.
What?
Right?
I love you straight up?
I mean, I suppose I don't want you to die, so... Yep.
What is this? What's the angle?
No angle. We're worried that you consciously or subconsciously tried to...
Are you trying to shut me down?
You kind of tried to kill yourself, dude, and that's not cool.
I fell off an inflatable.
Okay.
But your spoon wasn't shiny enough, huh? It is not all about you.
I thought you loved me.
Asshole. I do love you. I love all three of you pricks, but what do I get from you chumps but chump change?
I felt weirdly seen there. I compare that to the moment where Kendall admits to the waiter situation and seeing his siblings actually physically maneuver to his level to understand and empathize with him. Like they're on his side and they want to help him heal. It's beautiful and very difficult to elucidate.
If it pleases the court, it sounds like you didn't kill him. It sounds to me like He killed him.
Rome, I'm a piece of shit, man.
Anyway, I just wanted to touch on that bit really quick. I could not relate to these people less, yet their dynamics feel creepily applicable to my own in very, very, just strange ways. There's strange parallels. I will never be able to fully wrap my head around it because I don't relate to these characters and I don't relate to the situations. There's a certain energy and certain emotions that I associate with some of these interactions and can apply them to my own. And I've seen them in my own life. And I think that's why the show works so well, is because of the emotional center. Sorry, let me get back to Roman. Roman is a terrible person, but he is someone desperate for some kind of path or structure, and once that's gone, he doesn't know what to do. The show deceives you at first glance, gradually revealing his blatant unawareness actually being an inability to cope. On some inexplicable level, I feel that's something many of us can unfortunately relate to. Succession's brilliance stems from the ability to craft weirdly identifiable characters in more recherche positions that we could never imagine ourselves in otherwise. I think Roman Roy is the character that exhibits this in such a way that very difficult to resonate with from a surface level, but as you dig deeper, there is something there to really grasp onto. That's why I think he's the best character amidst a slew of fantastic characters on the show. Thankfully, the writers were willing to flesh this man out, and the show would not be the same without this character. I love Roman dearly, even if I really despise him at the same time. It's hard to explain. Just watch the show. You'll get what I mean. Anyway, that's all I want to talk about today. Tell me what your favorite character is in the comments below. I am interested to hear. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Ethan Butler, and I'm out.